critical moment, Seo appears and tackles the monster out of the building, and Lee quickly pulls her back inside. With the monster gone for now, the supermarket owner complains to Seo that the government isn't doing anything. Lee tells everyone that there isn't just one monster. The fog outside is full of them, and getting caught means death. The story reveals that Cha is a 19-year-old high school student who became a shut-in, refusing to go to school or talk to anyone. He just played video games all day. His parents tried to take him on a family trip with his sister, but he refused. On the way, his parents argued about his situation, and his distracted father crashed their car into a truck, killing everyone inside. Before they left, his mother had made him a meal and told him to heat it up. He only shows up for the funeral, where he has a breakdown, screaming about how the small amount of inheritance money isn't enough for him to live on. He had to be carried out. Back in the present, Jisoo is watching over a sleeping Cha. She complains that Wook asked her to look after Cha and then just disappeared. Unaware of the danger, Eun-yu is about to go downstairs but hears a noise that startles her, and she sprains her ankle. Wook happens to be walking by. As things get awkward, the monster girl appears and attacks Wook, biting his shoulder. But Wook is incredibly strong. He kicks the monster into a wall and beats her until she stops moving. Seo and a soldier carry the dead guard's body to a storage room. The soldier doesn't want to, but Seo takes a picture of the body, saying his family deserves to know what happened. At the same time, Jisoo is also heading downstairs. She finds a man in a business suit holding a wine bottle, mumbling about how his boss betrayed him. As he gets angrier, he starts to transform. Seeing this, Jisoo hits him with her baseball bat. The man turns into a monster anyway. Just as he is about to attack her, the teacher shows up and slices off half the monster's head with a sword. They think it's dead, but it gets back up, even with its injury. It seems the monsters can't be killed easily. At the main entrance, Lee tells everyone to barricade the door. The woman from Gangnam begs him to wait because her daughter is still on her way home, but Lee says they have to protect the group. Just then, everyone gets an emergency text from the government. It warns them to stay away from anyone showing symptoms like nosebleeds, fainting, or aggression. The group is frozen with fear, and many want to just wait for help. A man with curly hair argues that no one is coming and that they should try to escape through the sealed garage. A soldier stops him, saying they need to secure the entrance first. The supermarket owner agrees, pointing out they don't know if there are more monsters on the other side of the stairwell door. Suddenly, a door opens and everyone backs away in fear as Wook walks out. They see the bite mark on his shoulder and think he is infected. The supermarket owner attacks Wook from behind with a stun gun, knocking him out. 8 hours later, Cha finally wakes up. The view from his window looks like the end of the world. Then, his nose starts to bleed. At the same time, both he and Lee find a post from a blogger online. The post has pictures and says this isn't a disease, but a curse. It lists the symptoms: nosebleeds and seeing things that aren't there. The blogger, who says he is being hunted, tells anyone with symptoms to kill themselves. But he adds, if you want to survive, there is one important thing to remember. Just then, the internet cuts out, leaving them in suspense. Cha remembers the noodles he left outside his door and goes to check. He finds the noodles and the monster with half its head missing. Luckily, the monster can't see. Cha wants to grab a weapon nearby, but knows any sound will alert it. He stays perfectly still until the monster wanders off. The supermarket owner and 2 other residents go to the storage room where Wook is being held. Not sure if he will turn into a monster, they decide to kill him just in case. The owner goes into the room wearing a gas mask and is startled by the dead guard's body. Wook, who is only pretending to be unconscious, suddenly headbutts the owner, knocking him out. Elsewhere, Jisoo and the teacher are looking for supplies. They pass Wook's room and hear someone inside saying 4 numbers. Jisoo guesses it's a lock combination. Inside, they find the man who was tied up. The man, a photographer who actually lives in the apartment, says Wook broke in and tied him up. The photographer asks what's going on, and Jisoo tells him it's a long story. As they leave, the photographer feels unsafe without a weapon, so he goes back to his room to get a hammer. Soon, they find another resident who has hanged himself. The site reminds Jisoo of a friend who also took her own life. The teacher thinks the man gave up, but the photographer points out that the man has been dead for at least a week. When the teacher asks how he knows, the photographer refuses to say and goes back to his room. Cha thinks about killing himself while he is still human. As he looks out his window, he sees a man from the 12th floor climbing down a rope to get food for his 2 kids. The man doesn't see a monster watching him from nearby. Cha yells a warning, but it's too late. The man is attacked and falls. Hearing the children crying for help, Cha feels he has to do something. He goes downstairs, but the monster spots him immediately and wraps around him like a snake. Just when Cha thinks it's over, the monster's head is blown off. The person who saved him is another resident from his floor who used a homemade cannon. The man communicates with Cha by writing, warning him that noise attracts the monsters and that they don't really die. Cha looks down and sees the monster's headless body is still moving. The man asks Cha if he wants to save the children, and Cha decides to be a hero. He follows the man's instructions and wears headphones with an active phone call, which will make static sounds when monsters are near. Cha makes it to the man's apartment. Turns out the man is a veteran in a wheelchair who is skilled at making weapons but can't move around. This means Cha has to rescue the children by himself. The veteran turns Cha's club into an electric baton with a blade, telling him it's for self-defense, not for killing the monsters. Cha asks about the cannon, but the veteran says he only has 3 shots left and is saving the last one for himself. With no other choice, Cha takes the electric baton and leaves. The monster with half a head is still in the hallway. Cha hides in a broken elevator to avoid it, but then the power goes out, leaving him in total darkness. He uses the chance to shock the monster and run. It follows the sound, but its tentacles can't find him. Cha uses its sensitive hearing against it by throwing bouncing balls as a distraction, then zaps it from behind, knocking it down for a moment. Lee asks Seo to watch the control room while he checks the power distribution room, thinking it's a local outage. Seo insists on going instead. Before she leaves, she takes supplies from the supermarket, which annoys the owner. Lee gives her a walkie-talkie and tells her to be careful. As Seo gets close to the power room, a woman with a small dog warns her not to go in because her dog is acting very scared. Still, Seo goes inside. Meanwhile, Cha finds the 2 children. As he is about to lead them to safety, his nose starts bleeding again. He's afraid he might turn into a monster, so he tells them to go on without him. He then fights a battle in his mind against his inner monster, remembering times he was bullied. His dark side taunts him, calling him a weakling. Overcome with frustration, Cha feels his monstrous urges getting stronger. Just then, a huge protein monster breaks through a door, and falling debris traps Cha. The children try to pull him free, but aren't strong enough. As the monster reaches for them, Cha uses his remaining strength to grab its leg and tells the children to run to room 1408 and find the veteran. The children escape, but Cha is left to be beaten by the monster. Luckily, the teacher and Jisoo hear the noise and arrive just in time to wound the monster and save Cha. The 2 children run to the 14th floor. They run into the blind monster. The girl quickly covers her brother's mouth, and they stand perfectly still. To their horror, the protein monster also comes up to their floor. The blind monster senses the movement and attacks the muscular one. The kids use the distraction to climb to the 15th floor. The protein monster overpowers the other one and throws it out a window. The children knock on doors, but no one answers. As the protein monster gets closer, the strange woman with the empty baby carriage steps in its way. She begs it not to hurt the children, but is kicked aside. Dazed, she sees an image of her dead child and remembers the accident that killed her. She tells the monster she knows her child is gone, but it attacks her again. At that moment, Cha and the teacher reach the children and tell them to run. The woman, however, has also turned into a monster. She jumps onto the protein monster's back, holding on to protect the children. Even as a monster, her love as a mother is still there. The teacher slashes at the protein monster, which throws the woman off. The teacher then tricks the monster into jumping through a window, and it falls to its death. Jisoo approaches the transformed woman. Seeing her monstrous form, she raises her bat, but the woman just asks where the children are. A moment later, she changes back to her human form. Cha takes the children to room 1408, and Jisoo brings the woman there too. The teacher and base girl pack their things and also head to room 1408 to regroup. On the other side of the building, Seo gets to the power distribution room and turns the power back on. A news broadcast appears on a TV showing the South Korean president declaring a state of emergency. In the middle of his speech, the president himself turns into a monster, and the broadcast is cut off by the sound of gunfire. The realization that even the government is falling apart causes everyone to panic. At this point, Lee remembers that his sister, Eunyu, is still in her room upstairs with her sprained ankle. After treating her own injury, she had used a knife to cut her ballet skirt into bandages. Seo hasn't returned because she was attacked by a spider-like monster on her way out. She is now trapped in a web, hanging upside down from the ceiling. Downstairs, the survivors want food from the supermarket, but the owner locks the door, saying he's not giving anything away for free. Just as people start to get desperate, the photographer shows up with a box of food and starts handing it out. The woman with the dog notices blood on the box and sees her dog acting scared, so she refuses the food. Lee uses the building's announcement system to call all survivors to the first floor, telling them to bring food, medicine, and weapons. The Gangnam woman uses the distraction to secretly unlock the main door. Her daughter has made it to the entrance, but the others hold the woman back to stop her from running out. The soldier, however, runs out to save the girl. He is killed by the long-tongued monster, which then kills the girl as well. The horrified residents can only watch as the monster eats her body. Lee struggles to barricade the door again, and the monster's tongue breaks through a metal cabinet, almost hitting him. The grieving Gangnam woman blames Lee for her daughter's death, screaming that she could have saved her. Realizing that hiding won't work forever, the teacher and Jisoo decide to go to the first floor to see what's happening. Cha volunteers to go with them. The veteran, worried for them, insists they take his homemade weapons. On the first floor, the survivors are reinforcing the entrance. The dog lady and the supermarket owner's wife talk about the Gangnam woman's loss. The dog lady also mentions that Seo's fiancé used to live in the building and that he died shortly before they were supposed to get married. Meanwhile, the spider monster is about to eat Seo. She manages to slip out of her coat and hide in a ventilation duct. The monster chases her, but Seo uses her agility to get away from it several times. As she's about to get out of the duct, the monster spits a web that wraps around her neck. Swinging back and forth, she kicks a glass window, breaking it. She grabs a piece of glass and cuts herself free. At that moment, her phone, which had fallen, starts to ring. Trapped behind a fence, she sees the caller ID, her dead fiancé. Since there's no phone signal, she knows she's hallucinating. Exhausted, Seo finally makes it back to the main group. As soon as she sees Lee, she walks up and punches him hard in the stomach. Turned out she was angry because of something that happened earlier. In the management room, Lee had seen a monster in the power distribution room on the security cameras, but didn't tell her about it. The next morning, loud alarm sirens were heard all over the city. News reports announced that the country was in a state of emergency, and the military was now in charge of security. The military said that a lot of people had turned into strange creatures, but they didn't know why. They made it clear that you couldn't catch them from breathing the same air or from blood. However, anyone with symptoms like seeing things, hearing things, having a low body temperature, nosebleeds...
Sorry guys, please, sorry.
The creatures could heal
Sorry,
very
please.
well, so it was important to kill them before they could get stronger. The government told the public to trust them, saying the military could handle it.